here. And we're rolling. We'll go live. Boom. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Trapper Goldsmith, host of the TeeRap Show, where we showcase elite athletes and sport individuals with their inspiring stories and rise to glory in their pursuit of everlasting greatness. Today, we have professional lacrosse player Reid Reinholdt, a very decorated collegiate player, but he also has a very active role in growing the game and the National Lacrosse League. He went to university for his law degree, which has helped him become vice president, executive director of the Players Association with the NLL. And with a recent move to the Las Vegas Desert Dogs, he now gets to throw on the pads alongside his brother Tor, who is also a veteran in the National Lacrosse League. So we're going to talk about the game, the league, the challenges of not necessarily being a big top four sport, and the future of lacrosse. So Reid, welcome, man.
Hey, Trapper, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's talk about growing up, man. Your older brother plays as well. How'd you guys end up in lacrosse and not hockey or football? Where did it all start?
Well, typical Canadian fashion, we played hockey in the winters, and we played lacrosse in the summers to make sure our hands were still good for hockey season in the winter. And it just turned out that we ended up being a little bit better at lacrosse than hockey, and so we kind of pursued that a little bit further than we did hockey.
And that was just like for both of you, a natural progression. You were both better at lacrosse than hockey?
Yeah, I followed a lot of what Tor did, but I think maybe it's a combination of a little less competition in lacrosse and also just excelling a little bit more at lacrosse than hockey. We were both pretty good runners. And obviously lacrosse is a lot of running. So I think that gave us a bit of a leg up.
And so what are the transferable skills like between lacrosse and hockey?
I would say it's pretty similar. The way you hold your lacrosse stick is quite similar to how you would hold your hockey stick. It's just kind of up by your ear rather than down by your ankles. And then just being in that sort of that environment, that arena environment, the boards, the glass, kind of understanding the position out there. It's both 5-on-5 with the goalie, so there's a lot of similarities.
And did your older brother drive you? Did you have a sibling rivalry between the two of you?
A little bit, yeah. I'd say we helped push each other quite a bit. He was always quite a bit better than me, being older. And he played with a lot of grit. And so he taught me some of that stuff as well. Usually
it's the younger one that's got a little bit more grit because you've been picked on for your entire life by your bigger brother. I'm the oldest in my family. I have two younger brothers. So yeah, I was always the one dishing it out and not taking it.
I guess that does happen too.
Talk about the opportunities in lacrosse. Like what are the opportunities for a young Canadian player, both at the high school level, and then you and Tor both played collegiate and university as well, right?
Yeah. So something I didn't really realize growing up, because we did play primarily box lacrosse, was that there's a lot of really amazing opportunities to have your education paid for either fully or partially by going down to school in the States. And the way you go about doing that is learning how to play field lacrosse, which, that was during hockey season. So that was heavily on the back burners growing up. But as we got older and into high school, we realized that field lacrosse was the path to post-secondary education. So we started to learn that and do some traveling trips and stuff like that. And, no matter what your skill level is at lacrosse, you can find a school to go to in the States and to compete and earn education. So, there's Division 3, 2, 1, and all those opportunities are great. My brother and I went and played Division 2 lacrosse, and that was after I went to the University of Victoria in Canada for 2 years, because I was set on taking engineering. And then once I was done with kind of pursuing engineering, I took on a scholarship down to school in South Carolina, and kind of doors just started opening from there. So I would say there's a lot of opportunities with lacrosse. It's just about kind of finding somebody to help guide you, and understand that when I was growing up, there was very little guidance, but there was some, and now there's even more. So there's a lot of resources out there to use, and I think it's important for people to understand that.
So you mentioned field lacrosse and then stadium lacrosse, or what'd you call it? Box
Lacrosse or indoor lacrosse.
Right. Yeah. So what are kind of I mean, obviously one's outside, one's indoors, but how does it change the game playing on a field versus inside?
Yeah, so inside is, like I said earlier, it's kind of like hockey, playing a hockey arena with just either concrete or turf down on the floor. It's 5-on-5 with 2 goalies, so kind of 6-on-6. And then when you move to field lacrosse or outdoor lacrosse, it's 10-on-10 with 2 goalies, so 11-on-11, and you're on essentially a soccer field that's slightly smaller. So there's a lot more players, there's a lot more space. Only 6 players can be on a half at a particular time. So you're playing 6-on-6 rather than 5-on-5. It's a little bit slower pace, and a little bit more strategic, I would say.
Now, so there's 2 different leagues. Is that right? There is like a summer field league, and then there's the National Lacrosse League, which is all indoors, runs in the winter.
That's correct. Yeah.
And so do a lot of players kind of play in both leagues? Are you allowed to play in both leagues? It's not like a live golf versus PGA Tour golf kind of thing?
Not yet, but so right now you can play in both leagues. We have, I would say, about a quarter of our players play in both leagues.
So let's kind of talk about, I mean, the average salary in the NLL is nowhere near what it is in the NHL. What's a big reason for that? Because I've been to a lot of lacrosse games, man. It's wild. Like the hits are huge, the fights are crazy. It's a lot of fun to watch. Why is there such a gap between the 2 leagues, you think?
I guess the easy answer would just be revenue. Revenue kind of drives salaries, and our revenue is not where those big leagues are, and a large reason for that is we rely primarily on ticket sales, at the gate tickets, and those other big leagues, they have some pretty significant broadcast deals in place.
Right.
And we're still building up that viewership, building up that demand for our product, and that'll hopefully drive our next couple broadcast deals, and maybe that's what's going to be the next big step for us. But we're growing at the grassroots. It's been a bit of a long road, but box lacrosse or indoor lacrosse is growing a lot. In the States, primarily, they're seeing sort of the advantages of playing both indoor and outdoor lacrosse. And we've expanded a ton recently. We have some really strong blue chip owners now, and the sport's definitely trending in the right direction.
So talk about your role as vice president and director. So you got your law degree, is that right?
Yeah, at Western University in Ontario.
And now you're that role with the Players Association. So did you ever plan on being a full-time lawyer, or like how did that role come about and you slide into that position?
Yeah, it was interesting. So while I was going to law school in Ontario, I was also playing for the Toronto Rock, which is the pro team out of Toronto. And while I was playing for that team, I was also our player rep. So each team has a player representative that helps build the executive committee for the Players Association. So I was one of those players that was privy to all the union discussions and negotiations, etc. And as I grew in that role and was in the league longer, there was sort of a feeling amongst the players that we could have more done on behalf of us and on behalf of the union. There's just a couple more resources we could pursue, and some more player benefits and things like that we thought that we could take advantage of. And So myself and another player, Zach Courier, ran for the president and vice president positions about 2.5 years ago, and we ultimately won the election. And then I was hired into the executive director position as well. And I'm currently our only full-time employee, so I do essentially everything from trying to get our social media in order, fixing our website, all the way to kind of, filing grievances and negotiating our CBAs and things like that. And so it's a lot of hats, but it's a lot of fun. And it's quite rewarding, kind of looking after your friends, your colleagues, and making sure that they're being properly looked after and things like that.
So the law degree didn't hurt with the role you're in and
No,
wearing that many hats.
No, it definitely helps quite a bit. I would have been happy kind of learning a bit more with my old law firm and kind of developing those skills more. And I felt like I had a really good guidance with my old lawyers and things like that. But our elections are only every 3 years, and each year that passes by, it felt like we were kind of falling behind, and we really wanted to get the ball rolling. So it was kind of it was a bit of a leap of faith. It was kind of scary, but I'm really glad. In hindsight, I'm super glad we ran for those positions, and I think we're in a really good spot now.
Nice. So what's the ultimate goal with you being in that position? Like, you think, okay, by the end of 2023, or your 5-year kind of goal, what is it you want to achieve while you're in that role?
I would love for our players to become full-time at some point.
Yeah.
So as you kind of alluded to earlier, we don't make as much money as the other big leagues. And so almost all of our players have other full-time jobs similar to myself. We have, teachers, plumbers, construction guys, all walks of life, doctors, all walks of life in our league. And so it's kind of a grind. You have your Monday to Friday, job, and then you're flying the weekend playing, and you're trying to perform at the top level. And I think we do a pretty amazing job of putting on a good show despite having all these other distractions going on. So a big goal of ours would be to move to full-time at some point. That's a difficult task because you're going to lose those guys who are at the end of their career, and there's going to be a lot of rollover. But ultimately, it's what we're going to need to do. It's probably not going to be while I'm still playing, but that's ultimately what's going to have to happen at some point. But leading up until then, it's just kind of growing the sport, growing the game. There's a ton of countries who play lacrosse, which I didn't realize until I coached for Team China during the last Worlds, and there was 46 countries competing. And so linking up with some of those countries, having our players help develop their programs and things like that, and growing lacrosse in those areas will be important. Similarly to growing down in the States, because indoor box lacrosse is not very popular in the US. And so linking up with some colleges and universities and helping grow box lacrosse in that sense as well, or high schools and things like that. So I think just, slowly chipping away at the grassroots in North America, and then also kind of globally with some other countries and programs, and just slowly developing lacrosse as a sport. I think the product on the floor is pretty exciting, and it's just kind of getting more eyes on it.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, man. Like, a lot of people don't understand your schedule, for most lacrosse players. So you have the full-time job. So you and your wife, Meg, live in Vancouver, but you're playing in Vegas. So kind of walk us through a week for you, what that looks like, flying back and forth and training, practicing with the team, and then having a game and then doing your full-time job.
Yeah. So most of the time our games will be on Saturday. Sometimes we'll have a Friday or Sunday game, but I'll do a typical Saturday game weekend. You usually land back at home from the previous week on Sunday, usually early afternoon. You get a little dinner in and some sleep Sunday night and recharge, and then you're you're right back to the grind Monday morning, going to work. Our team and most teams have a team call usually in the middle of the week to talk, game plan, go over some video and some things, some areas to improve and some changes we need to make for the upcoming opponent. And then we'll fly out Friday morning. We'll have practice Friday night. And then Saturday morning, we'll have a little shoot around, just helmets and gloves. Then you usually get your little middle of the day nap and lunch in, and then play the game Saturday night, and then right back on the bird Sunday morning and back home, and then repeat for 18 games.
So what are you trying to do on your own? What's to stay sharp and kind of stay ready for the weekend?
Yeah, I guess unlike the other team sports where you're always with your team and you're you're working out together, practicing together, holding each other accountable in that sense, it's a lot of self-motivation. So you're having to keep each other accountable and keep yourself accountable on your own. So it's, going for runs, hitting the gym. My brother and I and another player in the league go and work out together throughout the week. So it's nice having at least a little group of people together. But yeah, it's very much self-motivating and getting yourself off the couch and making sure you're making yourself as good as you can be for the weekend.
So Reid, you've had a few injuries over the last couple of years. How do you mentally deal with injuries? What's your mindset going, when you get an injury as an athlete? We all know what it's like to be injured and have that setback. How do you, you've been playing long enough now. What's your mindset going into an injury and kind of to get over it as quickly as possible?
Yeah, that's a good question. They suck. I don't know. There's no other way to put it other than injuries suck. Yeah. But I think it's also helpful to remember in your mind that just about every athlete goes through it. I don't know many athletes that have never been injured. So, everybody deals with them. It's just kind of how you deal with it. And just kind of looking at, I guess, the light at the end of the tunnel. The process sucks. And if when I blew my ACL, I know it's at least about 12 months, about a year recovery. And if you just kind of think, oh, I'm going to have 12 months of this, that sucks. That's going to be a pretty slippery slope. So I think you just got to take it day by day, be happy about the small improvements you're getting. Don't think about how far off you are from being 100%. Just keep chipping away and know that, one day you will feel good. A lot of the time it's longer than the deadline they give you, but you just kind of chip away, do what you're told, listen to the doctors, listen to the medical staff, and just kind of believe that you'll be okay at some point. That's kind of the approach I took, and it did pan out. My knee feels great now. Now I just have other bumps and bruises, and it's just one of those things. You just got to grind through it and know that you're not alone.
Is the focus that you're going to come back stronger after an injury? Like you're gonna put that extra focus into getting it healthy and come back even stronger, rested mentally, and
yeah, that's always the goal. And so I think that's a good thing to focus on. And if you're aiming to be stronger than you were, then you're most likely going to end up at least where you were at. So aim for the stars and you'll land on the moon type of thing, and it works out pretty good. What's
the most common injury with lacrosse?
I would say shoulders are pretty common, just because our sticks are up there. We're cross-checking is legal. So I'd say shoulders are quite common. And then maybe knees, particularly in outdoor lacrosse, maybe knees are a bit more common, but I would just say kind of shoulders and hips and knees.
Yeah, there's no high sticking penalties in lacrosse, is there?
Very, very few. It has to be pretty bad.
That's why you guys
did get one last game.
have to wear full cages, eh?
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's talk about the trade to Vegas. So, how did that come about? Was it in the works for a while? Did you know it was coming down the pipe?
Kind of. So I've been playing in Toronto, and travel was becoming more difficult because I was no longer going to school in Toronto, and I had moved back home to BC to complete my articles and to work back home in British Columbia. So travel was getting worse and worse, and the schedule sort of changed. There used to be a lot more crossover between the Western and Eastern conferences, and last couple of years, with more teams being added, they've really bifurcated kind of the two conferences. And I think we only have 2 Eastern games this year, and so Toronto was the good day of travel for me, and then it just got kind of worse from there when we'd play Halifax or Georgia or New York or somewhere like that. And so it was taking a bit of a toll on my body, and I could tell. And so I was really interested in getting over to the Western Conference. It was a tough decision because I really love that team from the top down, everybody involved. And a big part of ultimately making the decision to ask for a trade was the fact that my brother was a free agent. We just had a lot of family stuff happen, and we really wanted to spend some more time together. So we had some discussions with the Las Vegas team, and I spoke with my owner of my team, and they're going to try to make something work. And it ultimately panned out that, if they were going to trade for me, my brother was also going to sign there. So it was a bit of a 2-for-1 type of idea, even though my brother was a free agent, and it's been pretty good. Our last 10 years, my brother lived in Calgary and I lived in Ontario and South Carolina and British Columbia. So we didn't get to spend a lot of time together other than some major holidays. So it's been really fun and refreshing, traveling together, hanging out together, playing together. It's been great.
Yeah, that's really cool. Only a handful of brothers actually get to play together. Never mind both of you getting to a professional level in sport, but getting to play on the same team is a pretty incredible experience. So you kind of knew beforehand that it was like, okay, if I go to Vegas, that tour is going to come to Vegas as well.
Yeah, I think that was an important piece for the Vegas team, because they were trying to decide what the trade value for me might be. And I think if my brother comes along with me, it makes that trade a little bit more valuable, rather than just a single guy. So I was actually on my honeymoon in Hawaii when I got the call, and I was being shipped down to Vegas, but it's been pretty fun.
Yeah, probably not missing the Toronto Winners.
No, I'm okay with that.
We just got another dump here in Calgary and cold snap. I would trade places with you in a heartbeat. Let's put it that way. So, okay, man, serious question. 1-on-1, you and Tor, who takes the lunch money?
Oh, that's a tough call. I'd probably say him. He'll probably hack my shins off.
No mess around. Yeah. Did you ever throw some big hits at him when you guys were playing against each other?
I got him on a couple good picks. So when we were playing against each other, I was playing on offense, he was on D, and we're both left-handed players, so we kind of play on the opposite sides of the floor, and I can sneak over and find his back on a good pick here and there. So there's a couple of those, but nothing too crazy.
Youthfulness gets them, right?
Yeah.
So talking about your role with the Players Association and as executive director, do you kind of feel your focus shifting at this stage in your career from the field to growing the game and how you can change the league?
A little bit, yeah. I think as you get older, you do start to think about the next steps of your career, your life, more and more. Obviously, you want to try to play as long as you can, but we're all realists at some point, and we understand that we can't play forever. So I do think I've started turning the page and thinking a little bit more and more about the Players Association stuff. I'm still super focused on playing and having a good year, but I care a lot about where the league's going to end up in the future. I really want, maybe for my kids it'll be full time, or some of the players right now, maybe their kids who are in their teens or something like that. Like maybe they'll have a really good opportunity in this league and be able to make a lifestyle out of it. And that would be the ultimate goal. I would just love to see that happen.
So what's left in the tank for Reid? What do you want to accomplish before you hang your pads up?
Oh, I don't think I have any particular individual or goals. Like I would love to win a championship. That would be my
With your brother, how cool would that be?
with my brother. Exactly. Yeah. Obviously going to an expansion team, it's more difficult to win a championship. It's not impossible. We've had a good run the last few games, but it's more difficult. So I'm not going to, consider the season a failure if we don't win the championship. I think we've been building really well and everything like that. For me, it's just kind of staying healthy, continuing to compete as best I can at the highest level I can, and doing whatever I can, kind of game in, game out to help my team win. Try not to get caught up too much in sort of individual or overarching goals. Just trying to take it game by game and just kind of seeing our team continue to get better.
You're well rehearsed for Sports Center interviewing you after the game. Just do it for the team, just hoping the team progresses and, day by day.
Oh yeah, it's got check time and
yeah. Got to dig deep, these last few games.
Yeah.
A young up and comer, Reid, wants to play professional lacrosse. That's his dream. He wants to be like the Reinholdt brothers. What do you tell him? What advice do you give him?
I'd say just get your stick in your hands as much as you can. Go to the lacrosse box with your friends. Surround yourself with people who like playing lacrosse too, and go hit the wall. A common saying in lacrosse world is to go play wall ball, which is just finding basically a concrete wall and just passing the ball off of it constantly. So I used to do that all the time as a kid. I would just say continuing to compete and watching helps as well. Talking to people, just learning. And I also think playing different sports is helpful too.
I've heard that a lot. Yeah.
Like playing hockey, basketball. I've seen basketball players convert really well to lacrosse as well, because it's similar with picks and things like that. So I wouldn't pigeonhole yourself into only playing lacrosse. I think it's good to kind of broaden your sport IQ overall, and just kind of seeing what you like.
So what do you think, and maybe not just specific to lacrosse, but overall as professionals, what do you think separates a good player from a great player? What's the real X factor there?
I think a lot of time it's not even really skill. I think a lot of the time it's mindset. And that's something that I think anybody can work on. Just kind of approaching the game with the right mind. Don't go in there being angry and hateful or things like that. You go in there wanting to play for your teammates or wanting to play for your coach or your parents or whatever it may be. Just go in there with a positive mindset. Try not to get rattled during the game. If you got to take, 5 seconds, take some deep breaths, learn some techniques that work for you. Those all go a really long way. So I think not getting rattled, having a really good mindset is kind of the big differentiator, I'd say.
So what do you, some tangibles, do you work with a mental performance coach? Is there things that you do throughout the week, whether it's meditation? How do you work on that mental side?
I haven't worked with a performance coach, but I've had, I guess you could say, some discussions with them throughout my job. And we've recently just kind of started a program for our players where we have vetted a few kind of mental health coaches or counselors to have them available for the guys, along with we partnered with LifeWorks to have 365, 24/7 resources available too. And so I think those people can really help set you on the right path. But for me, I've just had kind of just my regular coaches over the years kind of tell me, I can tell when I'm getting super frustrated and upset. And it used to affect my game quite a bit more because I would let that dictate how I would play afterwards. And I've just had coaches kind of say to me, hey, just take 10 seconds or something like that. And then just sort of reset. And I've even had when there's big championship games or things like that, and I'm playing a lot, and I know I'm going to be like that. I've spoke to teammates to just be like, hey, if you don't mind, can you just kind of keep an eye out? And if you do see me getting all fired up, just give me a poke and just say, hey, just take your 10 seconds or whatever. And so I've had teammates help me with that too, where they just kind of let you know, hey, I think you should take your 10 seconds and reset.
Time out for Reid.
Yeah, Reid needs a timeout, guys. Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. Everybody has different techniques, but I think you just got to find what works for you.
Yeah, that's really good. I agree with you. I was fortunate enough to work with Karen McNeil, who's a renowned sports performance coach in Canada. She's actually coached the Team Canada as well, and done some great things for Canada sport. But it was phenomenal, man. Like when you look at getting to that elite level, and even the ones that don't, like the mental gap there between their mindset, how they're able to get over a bad shot or a bad play, reset, have a mental timeout. Those skills, I think, are invaluable, not just in sport, in life. I mean, it's direct transfer to careers after.
Yeah, it definitely takes practice. It's hard to.
Yes,
You almost have to just
practice.
trick. You have to like trick yourself almost. Learn how to trick your own self. Yeah.
No doubt. So you recently got married. Talk about how, like, especially with your travel schedule and how busy you are, how do you find balance with that, and how has marriage treated you in playing professional sport and having a full-time career?
I'm lucky. I have a really supportive wife.
I know you do. I know her. Yes.
So we've done a lot of long distance kind of over the years in general, while we've been going to school and just sort of developing our own careers. So she's a little bit used to me being away, but lacrosse season's never easy for either of us or the dog. We're always kind of just getting back together, and then next thing you know, I'm kind of gone again. So the season is a bit of a grind, and I can only imagine how it is for guys with families and stuff like that too. So you really have to make time and take advantage of the weeknights and things like that. And then when it isn't lacrosse season anymore for this second half of the year, just really enjoying spending time together. And your bye weeks, make sure you go do something special or whatever. Don't just kind of do nothing. So I don't know, just showing them that you still care. And Meg comes down for some games as well, which has been fun. Her sister came down for her birthday down to Vegas a couple weeks ago as well. So it was fun. Her parents are super supportive as well. So it's been nice having. It can be a bit of a family affair sometimes.
Yeah, and you can't go to Vegas without having fun. So
that's true.
Win-win. Awesome, man. So if listeners want to follow your journey, kind of follow you, where's the best place to find you, Reid?
You could probably follow me on Instagram or something like that. My handle's pretty simple. It's just my first and last name at Reid Reinholdt. So if anybody's ever interested, I don't post a ton, but if you want to check it out, you can feel free.
Wait till you and Meg have kids, then you're posting every day.
Yeah,
social media.
I have a ton of photos on my phone of just my dog, but not too many of them make it up onto the Instagram.
Awesome, man. Well, it's been great having you on the show, catching up with you. I commend you on what you're doing for the league. I think you have a great vision to where things could go. I'd love to see more and more NLL players doing it full time, and that's it's only going to raise the popularity of the sport and the competitive level of it as well. So commend you on that, man. I hope you still got a few more successful years in the tank, and continue to watch you and tour with Vegas is a lot of fun.
Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it. It's been